Many of you have heard rumors about this word called ancients and what could be returning back here. Well, for a long time, we have been free of certain influences here on the earth. We've dealt at minimum with an adversary who does not really show himself, right? Who is almost so restricted in his operations that many people right now, they deny many things of the spiritual realm. Now, whether you know this or not, you're living in the days when they all come back. You're living in the days when all of it comes back. I'm going to quote something for you guys. Something I meant to share last night. Not to scare anybody or anything like that, no. But there have been people in history who have explored these hidden things. They always end up with the same conclusion. Always they end up with the same conclusion. That conclusion is although they have fear of their mortal bodies being consumed by these things, they're terrified of what will happen spiritually. They use terms like spiritually consumed. All right? There's no end to one who is spiritually consumed, meaning it's almost like being devoured moment by moment for an eternity. Because these folks found out what they were serving. And throughout history, they burned books. And to date, I believe there's only 3 copies of a specific book I'm speaking about. A set of documents, recordings that were made from folks who, well, religion was not enough for them. They went off down the wrong path and began to interact with, in hidden kingdoms, with hidden entities, who, by the way, they put it to you this way. There's no return for those who encounter such. No one has encountered such. You can always tell, because for a person to encounter that, they wouldn't be openly talking to anybody, period. They wouldn't. But they put it this way, that humanity is on a continent that is all by itself and not exposed to the vast blackness of the ocean that awaits, a vast blackness. And they make references to things like the black universe, right? As a direct reference. They give details which match up perfectly with the Book of Enoch into what the angels taught mankind, for what reason, the conditions before the flood. And believe me, that's something you really don't want to know. Because if you think it was normal, you're sadly mistaken, right? We have places now that are beginning to arise like they did back in the days of old. Iran, for example, is referenced as magic Iran. Imagine that. Imagine that. Syria, Damascus, parts outside of Israel, the Gaza Strip, all these places seem to be under an active curse because of negative occupation. These are rips in the continent where there's no protection. Now, because you belong to Christ, He is your shield. The more you abide in truth, the less you're going to be touched, period. Right? To see this other world, which is going to be thrust upon mankind, because mankind, they have no choice. They have no choice. In fact, 2 years ago, one of the buzzwords, or about 10 years ago, the buzzword in the Pentagon was the ancients are returning the old ones. Historically, they are the ancients of the ancients. Historically. And they're coming back with some of the calamities that we're going to have, like they're going to be waiting on people to self-destruct, to consume, and some people know they're being chased by them. talking to a gentleman today who became deeply disturbed in the last few months because he went down the wrong path. He was pale. He's pale in the face by what he sees, and he's frightened to really look at anybody too long. He says everywhere he looks, there's something looking back, and they're waiting on him. That's what he keeps saying. He's not doing good. Now, whether he's losing his mind, I don't know. But this guy has access to very high-level documents, not the kind of documents you're used to. Either we're not talking about some security document, some disclosure about a UFO video of something flying by. No, this guy has access to some very high-level documents that outline what the world was before the ancients were here, including their names that no one will utter. No one will utter. And it's a good thing they're stricken from our memory, because if us foolish people ever got a hold of something like that through curiosity, we would go through a flesh torment before we ever died to go through a spiritual torment. And what I'm telling you is that there are people who are unfortunately finding out that the spiritual realm should have been left alone. It really should have been left alone. There are other people that say, the Lord has granted us sight to see beauty all around us. Because if one were to behold the darkness of chaos, where nothing has an order to it, even the grotesque shapes would make you sick for the rest of your life without interacting or anything else. Have you ever seen something that looks so out of place, right? It makes you sick inside because it's totally in chaos, totally out of order, totally out of place. And again, people have, the folks who have seen this, it's very unfortunate. There's no way back to them. And a lot of people are we have a team of guys working with this individual concerning Christ. It's a real issue. I suspect it's going to spread all over the earth too. Why? Because of the internet. That's why. Because people have access to books, they have no idea what they're doing. They're reading things, and they have no idea what they're doing. No idea. They're venturing into areas they have no idea what they're being kept from. They go out and they look into the universe, and, they see the small universe. And the way these gentlemen put it is everything that I can see, everything explored, everything we can possibly conceive is on a protected island. Even your thought process is on a protected island. That mankind has not seen true evil. The last time they saw true evil was when the fallen were here, the Agigi. And do you not know that secret societies all over the world are terrified of the Agigi? Have you guys ever heard of that term? I'm going to tell you the truth about certain thoughts I have towards Zechariah Ascension. He glorified some very ugly things. Yes, I'll be so bold as to say he glorified them. Some very ugly things. But I'm going to show you how things work. By the way, some of you, you know about them tampering with your life, trying to ease their way into your life. Thank God they have not been successful. If they were successful, you would never think of Christ the same way again. So we know they're not. We know they're not. But what did the Lord tell us? What did he warn us about? Number one, he warned us to stay far away from sin, didn't he? He did. He told us, he gave us every advisement we could ever have to stay away from sin, because their grip in your life is sin, is by your desires of flesh. Right? Yesterday, there was a guy who ate another person. Well, half of them anyway. Again, these things are happening again. And when these people are shot, evidently they don't respond. That's full possession. In every single case, these folks had no drugs in their system. None. Something is happening here. Happening more and more. The conversation in the church is conventional, right? That only works so long as the spiritual realm is hidden and remains a mystery. But we know it's not going to remain that way. That term, mystery of iniquity, mystery means hidden iniquity, right? Which means the truth of evil is not known yet. It's not seen yet. It's not readily believed yet. Those who believe in Christ, we already know about it because we contend with portions of it, but we don't contend with the wholeness of it. Let me tell you how bad it can be. The Lord said, if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. But he intervenes. Without his intervention, there's nothing we can do to survive. Zip zero. There is no strength in us that can handle that. And they're drawing upon the knowledge of those things. Now, do you guys know one of the true mysteries of CERN? They call Iraq Stargate Iraq. I believe it is. Do you guys know that? Stargate Iraq. Jordan is a portal. Not a gate, but a portal, they say. This is what they say. I'm sure some very known things inside of certain circles. Iran is heavily involved in what you would call magic. Maybe not in a way you understand, but what you would call magic. Jordan is involved in gatekeeping, you could say. Iraq is a universal place because of what's in Iraq right now. And they called it that because of what was retrieved from Iraq. However, they can't move the other pieces. Certain pieces they cannot move. They're still in Iraq. So what they did was they went back there and reassembled the thing in one of Saddam Hussein's old shelters, one of his underground facilities, which means, listen, mankind is tampering with things, and what I want to talk about briefly, right? First, note that you're covered by the blood. I want to talk to you about a paradigm that will most likely take place. I don't say this of my own regard or for my own, just to entertain people, but take it as a warning, right? Because how many of you understand what you have been entertaining? I want to touch on that topic too, entertaining things. Without knowing, many of you have entertained something you shouldn't. And you know what? We're gathering tonight to break chains, to break these hidden vices that one would have, to make them visible so that you can be free of them. Break them all. But we have to put some things back in perspective of truth. Not in some clever way that sounds interesting, but back in the truth. Everything we do needs to go back to the roots of truth. Like the Lord said, consider the ways of old. I'm getting charged up. You know why? Because there are people in spiritual trouble right now. See, today was a very moving day because there were individuals who it seems like though they are in reality and in relative safety, they will never be safe again. Their world has collapsed. There's no going back. It is a hurtful thing to see. Something has a grip on them so strong. But I'm convinced somebody could stab them to pieces, and they would invite that rather than what they're going to face by way of their spirits. And yet you have Christians walking around knowing specific things, but because there's no context, not because there's no real context. In other words, proof to the thing, we disregard the information.